What do you think are the rules of evil tennis?
I'd say you hit the ball purposely as hard as you can. Like you aim for the person on the other side and you just have to try and slog the ball at them.
I'm pretty sure that was one of the rules of evil tennis.
I'm pretty sure that's
It involved, it was making tennis a contact sport.
I wouldn't play that.
Why not?
Stop getting hit in the head that hard.
Have you been smacked with a tennis ball before?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Hold on just a tick. Before we go any further, we should just cover off something very important. First off, my name is Tarlee, and I'm your host for this episode of our podcast Shift. Our podcast crew are a group of young people who live on the homelands of the Dharawal, Alauri and Wadi peoples in Australia. And we want to let you know that the place where we live was, is and always will be Aboriginal land. We want to thank our elders in the community who give us advice and support. And now, back to evil tennis.
In high school, for sport, they were the kind of people who were always on the lookout for activities that required the least amount of effort. They wanted something that was pretty much attendance only, or close to, where they could phone it in.
Low supervision, show up, wait it out, and go home.
They weren't sporty kids.
They didn't know how to play any of the sports, and when the teachers tried to show them how to play any of the sports, well, let's just say, it only resulted in a disappointment all round.
In Year 10, they signed up for tennis.
Every Wednesday, the teachers would allow them to take their rackets and balls down to the absolute furthest court in the back corner, and essentially disappear for the afternoon.
They did not know how to play tennis. There were 4 of them, raised on violent 90s cartoons. So the game immediately became
who could hit the ball the hardest at the other players. It was like Lord of the Flies.
They called it evil tennis.
They screamed so loud that the teachers were forced to come and tell them to lower their voices.
Someone said they should have rules.
But they made it a rule that if you wanted your rule to be accepted, it had to be so unreasonable that you cackled when you said it.
New rule. If the ball hits the net, you have to freeze.
And to release you, your teammate has to hit you as hard as they can with their racket.
And so the rules developed. The fence behind each team was divided into 3 sections by horizontal lines of wire. So they made it that you got 1 point if your ball got past your opponents and hit the bottom part. It was the easiest to hit.
2 points for the middle, 3 points for the top.
It was called a home run if the ball went over the fence, and this was celebrated by running in circles, but it weirdly didn't actually translate into points.
If your ball hit the net, you had to freeze. And the only way you could be freed was if your teammate came and hit you with their racket. Yes, even though they were on your team.
They'd usually hit each other hard enough to leave a bruise.
And then it got more evil as they added more rules. The worst rule of all was...
New rule. The worse the rule is, the more you have to accept it.
The idea being, if they groaned or recoiled, it was in.
It was evil tennis after all. So they ended up with impossible situations like...
One person would hit the net with the ball and be frozen, and their teammate would come and unfreeze them with a truly blistering whack of the tennis racket. And then before they could defend the fence again, they had to do their team dance.
Yes. They had to choreograph little signature dance moves that they had to do as a team.
And all the while, the other team could keep scoring.
It sounds kind of bad when they explained it, but they loved evil tennis.
And for the first time in their lives, they cared passionately about a sport.
They talked scores, just like any other team.
Compared injuries like any other team.
And developed all kinds of strategies. They were admittedly mostly focused on mayhem rather than winning. They actually convinced other people to join and taught other people to play evil tennis, and ended up expanding into another court. Although the new players version was considerably less evil than the original game.
Less evil?
Eventually, they just had too many rules and the game wasn't fun anymore. But they got 2 full terms of sport out of it, and that's all that mattered to them.
They didn't know anything about tennis when they signed up, and they hadn't learned a single thing about it by the time they finished either. But evil tennis made evil school sport actually fun.
Shout out to our crew who feature in that story, Georgia, Tristan, Zane and Malachi. And thanks to Emma who helped us discover this story and who helped to write it too, and her friends who created evil tennis. The evil tennis creators did not play according to what others say are the rules, but they got the real job done. Enjoying themselves, doing something healthy, coming together. That's what Shift is about. We got some money from Quarternaire through Pitch Night to talk about healthy activity and eating. And we said we'll do it through stories, all kinds of different stories. Stories that can make us think, not tell us what to do, not telling us the rules, enabling us to have some fun and think about the real point, feeling good. So Shift stands for Shaping How I Feel Today. So you're not going to get any eat more carrots or you got to walk this many steps from us. You're going to get 4 more stories today. Story 1, all the time. The pros and cons of growing up in a place where it's hard to be alone. Story 2, playing with the fridge light, where we considered the benefits of some modern technology. Story 3, in all that water. A short poem about stress. Story 4, The Long Line, about the real dangers of fishhooks. Who are we? We are a group of young people who live in some of the public housing areas on Tarlee country in Australia. Some people say where we live is disadvantaged, but maybe even that depends on how you look at it. And that brings us to story 1, all the time. Here's Zane sharing this short bit of writing about being alone, or not being alone.
I wonder what it's like to be alone. I mean, I feel lonely sometimes, but never alone. Not really. Not where I live. There's just so many people around all the time, and they're so close by, all the time. And what would it be like if you were alone? Well, you wouldn't see the drunks and druggers walking around, smashing bottles and wondering why no one helps them. I guess they'll still be somewhere, but you just wouldn't have to think about them. But if you were alone, there wouldn't be the kids buzzing around, running amok. I guess they'd be somewhere, but just not together. You wouldn't hear the thuds from next door, the yelling, the crying, the yelling again. I guess if you can't hear it, maybe it's not happening. But then again, there wouldn't be the neighbours stepping into each other's front yards to help out. I guess if it seems too far to the neighbour's front door, you might never get there. You wouldn't be woken by cops patrolling the streets, climbing your roof, and jumping over fences. I guess they're just doing their job, but you wish sometimes they wouldn't look down on you so much. And if you were alone, you wouldn't have your best friend, your brother, your mom. So I'm not alone. And I guess that might be how it has to be, how it should be.
The first thing that springs to mind for some people when they think about young people today and their health and nutrition is how bad all our modern technology is. You know, kids all trapped inside, sitting in front of screens, playing video games, not moving their bodies, that sort of thing. But there is one computer game that actually does get people outside. Here's Phil, one of our crew mentors, trying to figure out what is going on.
Okay, so what's going on?
We're battling a grunt.
You're battling a grunt?
I already spun that. I can't because I already spun it.
Is that what you said?
Yes.
So what's happening? Are you doing it?
Oh, it's Zubat. Yeah, we're doing it. I'm trying to concentrate. Oh. No.
Okay, so there's a lot of tapping, fingers tapping
I don't
onto the
think I'm
phone.
going to win
No,
this
that was
one.
worse. No problem.
Are you winning? Can you tell?
Did
you
win?
Yeah. Did you win?
Yeah, I won.
So what does it mean? What did you win?
I get a shadow Pokemon.
Ah.
Okay,
What shadow Pokemon?
Zubat.
Don't die on me. Don't die on me.
Okay, so Pokemon Go is the game for those who haven't figured it out yet. Picture a few young people, specifically Cooper, Chloe and Lizzie from our crew, hanging out together in the great outdoors at Wollongong University campus in this case, all looking at their phones and doing a variety of taps and squiggly hand movements on their phone screens and talking another language.
And we'll be at work and we'll be like, yeah, how many shinies did you end up getting on the weekend, or, you know, this and that, and our workmates will be like, what do you mean shinies? Like, what are you talking about?
Now that was a couple of other people who Cooper, Chloe and Lizzie talked to, who were also at Wollongong University and also playing Pokemon Go, which is kind of why we were there. Oh, so we're here to try and interview people as well?
Yes. Yeah. Why else would you be holding a boom mic?
Well, that is a good point.
Yes.
We were like just friends before Pokemon Go, but
Pokemon Go made you stronger friends.
Probably.
Well, yeah, we're best friends on here. So.
Yeah, so it's it's official.
Yeah.
Considering we all have full-time jobs and other lives, it kind of makes it, we actually get to see each other a bit more than we usually would.
Time.
Yeah, pretty much. And we can kind of pretend we're exercising. It's a good system.
What do you like about Pokemon Go?
Nostalgia.
What's that?
I played Pokemon growing up. There's a lot of happy memories.
So it's like
associated
child.
with that. Yeah, childhood memories.
It's amazing to see something that I grew up with in real come to, I guess, a form of real life.
So for those who still don't have any idea, Pokemon are Japanese in origin, in Japan called pocket monsters, creatures who endear themselves to people all around the world through games and anime from the mid-90s. So when the dude says it's in real life, you need to picture that when people are playing Pokemon Go, the latest version of the media empire of Pokemon stuff, they are looking at the camera on their phone, just like anyone would, but in their actual camera, Pokemon will appear.
Pokemon Go, the best way to explain it is it's augmented reality, which basically means that you're looking at your phone and your phone is giving a animated or an exaggerated version of what's happening in real life. So you can look through your phone at something, right, and you're seeing something different that isn't there because the phone is making something appear there. And the thing that is making appear is Pokemon, right?
I've been a Pokemon fan since I was a kid.
Yeah.
We had that same answer earlier.
Yeah,
Wow.
so...
So picture, at this point, our interviewee rolling up the sleeves of her jacket.
All the EVs except Sylvia.
Cooper is reeling off the names of the Pokemon this woman has tattooed on her arms and body. Wow, this is committed.
Yeah. And we've got Charmander, which is to represent my son over there, who reminds me of a little Charmander running around.
Awesome. We're just going to take you away from the university setting for a bit so you can meet Zane, another one of our crew, who was not at the uni with the others. But in a way, he started our interest in this story off. I asked him how he got into it.
When it came out, everyone was all crazy about it, and everyone went and got it. My auntie and uncle and all that, who was like really close to me, got it. So then they started giving me turns of it and all that. We'd be walking with like my uncle and all that, and my little cousin, and they'd be like, on Pokemon Go, and I'd just be walking with them. They'd get a Pokemon and they'd give it to me to catch and all that.
So at first you had a go, but you didn't actually have a phone, so you were using like other people's phones?
Using everyone else's phone. The game is like a good concept because it gets you out there. Like, you're not sitting inside playing games, you're not in a dark room, you're just on your phone walking outside in like the fresh air and getting fit at the same time, I guess.
Okay, back to the uni. What's going on?
Oh, so we're here as a family today playing Pokemon Go and the community day.
Excellent. What's a community day?
Everyone gets together and heaps of Pokemon of the same species pops up in a massive place, and it's a higher chance to get a shiny.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
a shiny is a special coloured Pokemon.
So they're a bit rarer than the normal ones. So we're all a bit excited because we've all got a shiny so far.
Oh, excellent.
Except Dad.
Oh, damn. What's going on, Dad? Why haven't you got one?
Sucks to be me.
You've been helping everyone else.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So how did you get into Pokemon Go? Like, who started it?
Dad.
Dad started it. Tell us how it started, mate.
Actually, I went to work one day and my little apprentice was playing it, and I said, "What are you doing? You're meant to be doing some work." And then he showed me, and then I came home and showed my wife, and the kids already knew about it. So then we play it, but because we're so busy all the time, my wife's a workaholic and that, this is actually a chance for us to get together as a family and I don't know, just enjoy each other's company as well. So that's why we do it a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about from your point of view, what do you like about it?
I like getting shinies and beating the family and how much shinies I have.
That's a bit of a competition.
We're all pretty competitive. Mum especially.
Oh, really?
Don't drag me into it.
No, you are. Oh, it's really good because you have to walk around heaps and heaps because you've also got eggs that hatch after walking certain kilometres, and that's really helpful. That's one of the main reasons that Pokemon Go really helps with health.
And do you get into the battles or all of that sort of thing?
Yeah, we're in a raid group near where we live. So there's a messenger conversation and we go as a group everyone comes together and we go and raid together, and so it's socially that way as well, not just us as a family. We get to meet other people that like Pokemon Go too, so it's cool.
I mean, like the family event on the weekend is something that died in like the 60s, right? 70s. Like it's more realistic, probably the 80s and 90s was the end of that, you know, go down to the beach together with the family. Kids go, I don't want to. But I mean, when you're taking your phone, like I said, it's augmented reality. You interface with them with something that's familiar to both of you.
So we've stopped here. There's a bunch of people all hanging around. What are we hanging around for?
We are doing a Galarian wheezing raid.
A what?
Galarian, that's right.
Galarian wheezing raid. It's a Pokemon that has a chimney head.
It has a chimney head. Of course it does.
Gas out.
Okay.
And it's got a moustache.
All right. Okay. And but you guys have already tried to.
So we tried to beat it, but we ran out of time to beat it with 3 of us.
Okay. And so we've now got a little posse of 10 or so people here. And so if you all start at the same time, then everybody's just battling it at the same time. Okay, I think I understand.
I think it's great. I'm a big proponent for getting kids to engage culturally too, because that's the other thing with Pokemon Go, is it identifies points of interest everywhere in the community.
We were doing this interview next to a sculpture in the university grounds.
So we will gather here.
These art pieces. When you click on any of these points of interest in the game...
So a lot of them will actually have info written down here about, you know, who did it, what it means, years, all of that kind of thing.
The best part is then if you're going to points of interest, you're going to cultural places, then hopefully those cultural things like art can be the medium through which you then interface with your child, right? So the idea hopefully is then to get people out and then into the community, and they engage with other people, they make friends, and then the parent and the kids walking along next month through the next event, they go, oh hey, there's Vicky and Joe, and the kid knows them too, and you've got mutual friends with your child. Like there's a ton of different positives to it.
So as you can hear, I find some of this pretty impressive, not the least being how many different ages and types of people were there at the community day, and how everybody can connect and feel good. But what about when you're not so connected, when things aren't that easy?
It was like good. It's good to get out sometimes, just in general, like living with people could be stressful, and like stuff does get out of hand sometimes. When stuff would happen at home, I'd go for walks, but like that'd be boring because it'd just be me walking and I'm like no idea what I'm doing, and my mind would still be on that thing that happened at home. So like it's good to have that break, go out, fresh air, catch some Pokemon.
Yeah, and you're just concentrating on something else, so where
it takes your mind completely off of what happened.
Honestly, it got me out of my depression quite significantly. Before I met Zach, I hadn't played it too much, and then we were living together, and I came home one day and I was quite upset, and he was like, why don't you just come out and do a raid with me? And then after that, it got me outside at least once a day instead of sitting at home wallowing.
Then I went through a stage where I was unemployed for a little while. Just means it gives you an incentive to just go outside and go for a short walk every day.
Yep.
Then you come back from that and you feel like, it's just like I went for a walk today. It's got, look at that. You're like, that was just like a quick, easy little thing that I've done today, and I feel like I've made a little bit of progress.
Yeah, it's a big thing these days, anxiety and social anxiety and agoraphobia, massive problems, right? So this is great for mental health. I'm a proponent for mental health care. I don't know how to say it, but it is a great way, and that's another thing. Exercise promotes endorphins, and it's a great thing for adults, not just kids, right?
Everyone can get into it. It's like not just for certain ages, certain people. It's for everyone.
So how often do you play it, do you reckon?
I don't get to play that much no more because I don't have a good enough phone for it.
What do you mean?
Too updated to play.
Oh, so in order to play it, you've got to get updates.
Yeah. And the phone won't update no more, so...
Oh, so the phone is too old.
I think it was right before one of the big Christmas updates for Pokemon Go, where it just stopped. And I was like, oh.
So you had this great thing that was doing all this stuff where you could get out, clear your mind and all of that, and now you can't use it.
Games got to update automatically.
Yeah, but that's crazy because, everybody wants the updates, I suppose, because it makes the game better, it makes the whole experience better, but if you don't have the money to keep your phone upgraded, then you just miss out.
Yeah.
That sucks.
It's a big suck. Yeah, it's the worst. You get people like, if they get like a single little scratch on it, they like freak out and just buy a whole new phone. Like just $1,000 down the drain. But me, I don't have that money, so I just do what I have to do.
And how does it make you feel?
I'm not sure how it makes me feel. It's like a mixture of feelings.
Yeah.
Because I see that and they'd be like, oh damn, it'd be great to have that money. Because like I could go get just, my house would be set, wouldn't have to struggle for anything. Nowadays, like I know I'm only like 16, saying nowadays and stuff, but I see like all these kids like 6, 7 with iPhone 7s, iPhone 8s. When I was their age, I was playing with the fridge trying to see when the light turned off.
Well, that's an image. Playing with the fridge to see when the light turned off. So all this technology and amazing ideas can really improve people's lives. But you still need to have enough resources to start with.
Shout out to Tristan, Lolly, Zane, Cooper, Chloe and Lizzie who feature and crewed on that story.
All of my life I've had it good, richer than most because of my childhood. Though I'm not rich like as in money, yes I am wealthy because of my family. We were close, our grandparents taught us above anything, remember what's important. Over the years, things fell apart, 'cause by our egos, we're left with broken hearts. Rich life, good life, rich life to the good life, rich life, good life, rich life.
Story 3. Let's go back to Chloe, who you just listened to playing Pokemon Go. She's going to share this poem called In All That Water.
Stress. My head hisses like a bad TV signal. My heart steams like the kettle when it boils. My stomach feels like it's been eaten by my stomach. My arms and legs stick like someone spat their chewing gum into them. I feel like tears. So I swim. I tune in. I cool. I flow. I relax. And I lose my tears in all that water.
Now Chloe really is a swimmer, actually competes in swimming, Special Olympic swimming. She has won silver and bronze medals at the nationals and has so many state and regional medals and ribbons that she can't even remember how many. And all that water kind of brings us to our last story for this episode of Shift. Story 4, The Long Line. This story comes from a few of our crew. Anthony started this off because he likes fishing, particularly fishing with his dad. So thanks Anthony for the inspiration. And also Paul, who added some of the more colourful details. Paul works for Coordinate, the organisation who gave us the funding we used to create Shift. There's a lot of other organisations who have been helping us with advice and helping us spread the word about our podcasts. And if you're interested to keep talking about health and mental health, go to our social media pages where there are lots of links to keep us talking more. So, The Long Line. Here's Bryce to start us off.
How did Lockie end up riding down the main street naked? Well, let me tell you.
Let us tell you.
Lockie and his mates learned to fish with Lockie's dad.
Well, Lockie had been fishing since before he could remember.
There are photos of him in nappies holding fish almost as big as he was.
When Lockie's friends were big enough to not have to be with their parents 24/7,
they were invited to come fishing as well, and they all got kind of addicted to it. Now they went by themselves.
Lockie's dad preferred some quiet when he was fishing.
And while Lockie and his mates got that you had to be quiet in order to catch the fish, somehow their quiet was never fully quiet enough for Lockie's dad.
So he went by himself.
Lucky's dad also saw fishing as some kind of Zen challenge thing, one-on-one with each fish. He never took more than he needed. He never rushed.
He never wasted. He never bragged.
Whereas Lockie and his mates turned everything into a competition.
Who got the biggest fish? The most fish. The biggest one that just got away. They could turn anything into a comp.
And Lockie's dad didn't think much of that.
Lockie and his mates pursued better and faster ways to catch fish.
Led them to try out a long line across the river.
A long line?
The river wasn't too wide.
You could swim across it with a couple of handfuls of stroke, depending on how good of a swimmer you were. And Lockie believed that he was the best swimmer.
He usually got the job of attaching the long line to the tree roots on the far bank.
The method was they got a big thick fishing line that was as long as the river was wide.
And then they tied smaller bits of line at intervals along the long line.
With hooks at the ends of each short section.
They would bait up each of the hooks and then
carefully, so the whole thing didn't turn into some kind of spaghetti mess,
walk it down to the riverbank.
One of them, usually Lockie, would swim the end of the line,
swim across
the river, tie it up on the tree roots on the other side, and then swim back to join the rest of the crew.
Once they caught 15 fish in one go using the long line.
They were always trying to figure out how they could get even more.
This day, well, the river was flowing glassily.
There wasn't much wind.
It was hot.
Lockie even left home without his shirt on.
Just jumped on his bike barefoot with the fishing line and hooks and bait in a small backpack and took off with everybody else.
Heading straight down the main street for the river.
Everything went pretty smoothly.
The line didn't get tangled. The bait went on the hooks easily.
The line was ready to be swum across.
But Trent wanted to do it today.
Trent.
A bit of an argument started up about who was the better swimmer, etc. And in the end it was settled that they would both swim across, each taking the line halfway.
Trent was the first half, so he grabbed one end and carefully started to swim.
His mates feeding the line in behind him as he swam so it wouldn't tangle on itself.
Lockie struck out ahead of him.
In a way, just to demonstrate that he was the better swimmer.
It
was a bit unfair though, because Lockie didn't actually have a fishing line in his hand. Anyway, Lockie got to the middle and started treading water, waiting for Trent to catch up.
When he got there, Trent handed him the line and Lockie struck out towards the far bank.
There was one section just past the middle of the river where the water ran faster and it was cooler.
But Lockie got past that easily and soon enough was scrambling on the far bank, tying the line off.
Trent was already there, waiting.
Looking smug that he'd beat Lockie to the far side.
Lockie finished tying the line off and waved at the gang to pull the line tight and tie it off the other side.
It all happened like clockwork.
Race it back, said Trent.
And dived before Lockie could really have time to think.
Hey, no fair!
He yelled at Trent as he sped away.
But Lockie didn't hesitate too long.
I can do this, he thought, and dived forward. There was a lot of splashing and whitewater everywhere. The gang on the other side were yelling something, either encouraging the person they wanted to win or telling them both to stop it.
They would be scaring the bejeebers out of any fish within a 2k radius.
Lockie couldn't tell whether he was catching Trent at all.
But he didn't dare to look up for fear of slowing down, so he ploughed on, and then all of a sudden, he felt something tugging at him, and he was yanked to a stop. He tried another stroke, but no good.
He stuck his head up. He was in a deep section.
Trent was still ahead, but not too far. Lockie had caught up with him pretty good. So what was wrong?
He realised when he glanced around and saw where he was.
He had swum too close to the long line. A hook or maybe two were caught in his shorts. The water was now pulling him down in the fast current, but the hook was holding him tight. He tried to get some leverage so that he could unhook himself, but the water pressure made it even harder, and it seemed to be pulling him down under the water. The way the current was pushing and the hook in his shorts resisting, he found he was gasping a bit for air.
Gasping for air.
He tried to look around.
Some of the guys on the other side were laughing.
But some of them seemed concerned, coming down to the edge of the water, wondering if they should do something. Trent had just got to the other side and was looking back at him, puffed out.
Lockie went under again.
Swallowing some of the fresh water. Didn't taste too good.
He spluttered up.
He spluttered up, panicking a bit now, trying to get the hook out. But he had no strength for it.
He had no strength for it.
The boys were yelling now. And that's when he did it.
And that was when he did it.
He gave
And
up.
just ripped his shorts off and swam out of the reach of the line. He swam towards the guys on the side. They looked relieved that he was okay.
Some of them started laughing.
In the way that you do after you get stressed.
But that laughter was nothing compared to the roars he got when they realised he was starkers. He paddled around in the shallows and pleaded with them to go and get him some shorts, but they said no and
laughed at him some more,
teasing him to come out of the water.
He wasn't sure how long he stayed there, but finally he got sick of it.
They cheered him as he got up out of the shallows and marched up to his bike and got on it.
Nude as the day, and rode away.
Some of them got on their bikes and chased after him, but he pretty easily lost them.
He was pretty riled up by now.
And they were laughing too much.
Once he was out of their range, he slowed down and tried to plot the least public way to his house. It was about then that his older brother Jason drove past in his hotted-up car.
Nice birthday suit,
he said, winding down his window.
Give me a lift.
Give me a lift.
Pleaded Lockie.
Not putting that bike in the car, it'll dirty the seats,
said Jason.
See you at home.
And he sped off.
Lockie was so mad he could hardly think.
And maybe that was what made him not care. He decided the most direct route would be the best.
And how good did it feel?
Riding his bike au natural on such a perfect day. And so he rode right down the main drag.
Past all the shops and the service station.
He could feel heads turn as he rode, but he didn't even turn to look at them. He just rode on.
The other guys dropped some fish at his place later that day.
But he was still angry with them.
So he stayed at the back watching TV.
And told Jason he wasn't coming out.
Not coming out.
He could hear Jason and the rest of them still having a laugh.
Later, his dad came into the TV room and said that he was going down the river to catch a fish.
He never came and told Lockie this anymore. Probably from the fear that Lockie would come and invite his mates. But Lockie knew that he was being asked, in Dad's roundabout way. Can I come? He asked, going along with it. If you want, his dad said. It was quiet down at the river with his dad. Going through the rituals of fishing and standing so still and quiet on the riverbank really calmed him down. He even started to see the funny side of the day.
He thought of how this could even make his reputation better.
None of the other guys would have had the guts to do what he did.
And so they stood, side by side, on the riverbank. His dad would definitely have heard about Lockie's Lady Godiva moment, but he didn't say anything about it.
Because you aren't allowed to talk when you fish.
And that was fine by Lockie.
Shout out to Bryce, Marcus, me, Harris, Jesse and Josh who feature in this story. If you've enjoyed listening to our podcast, you can support us to keep making more stories by going to Beyond Empathy's website and donating. You can make a one-off donation or commit to supporting us regularly. Every bit helps a lot. It's an easy site to find. www.be.org.au. That's B for Beyond, E for Empathy. So be.org.au. And even if you can't support us with money, you can really help us by spreading the word. Like our podcast wherever you can, give the podcast a rating, and tell your friends, colleagues and families to listen to it too. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. You know what to do. And if you want to have a conversation with us, we are also telling a bunch of our stories in live events, virtual events, live streams, you name it. So check out our socials. And you can even ask us to come and present at your school or for your team meeting, your conference, your event. We can appear live or virtually or both. Tell a few stories and have a yarn about health and whatever else comes up.
Coming up this week, you really want to book in for our very first ever podformance on Monday the 24th of May at 4:30pm Eastern Australian Standard Time. It's on Zoom, so you don't even have to leave your house or office. You've heard us, and now you get to see some of us. We will tell you a story and then get into a podversation, and you can even join in. If you want to register, head to the Beyond Empathy website, find events, and you can register from there, or check out our Facebook events page. Okay, I'm going to whip through the credits now, and if you stay to the end of that on any of our podcasts, you are going to get to hear some comments and feedback from our listeners, maybe even yourself, so stay tuned. The people who made today's podcast are Georgia, Tristan, Lully, Zane, Bryce, Phil, Daniel, Shanice, Marcus, Tarlee, Jesse, Malachi, Emma, Tyrese, Cooper, Alice, Brianna, Gemma, Elias, Josh, Chloe and Lizzie. The song Rich Life that you heard in today's episode is by Latonna Pitt. The music that you heard in the stories is from Philip Okerstrom, Damien Mason and also from Kevin McLeod. We would also like to thank our Pokemon Go interviewees, Andrew, Natalie, Josh, Scarlett, Kit, Zach, Robert, Amanda, Casey, Nathan, and Tammy and the family, and our advisory group, Amanda, Paul, Emma, Maddie, Kalina, and Megan. We started making recordings for this podcast in the street and in our car, so we really want to shout out a special thanks to TAFE New South Wales Wollongong and Southern Youth and Family Services, who have let us use their studio setups, and that has made a huge difference. And a massive thank you to Audio Technica Australia, who generously enabled our young people to use some of their quality audio gear. Beyond Empathy has received funding for the podcast from The Edge from the Australia Council for the Arts, Create New South Wales, Zurich Australia through the Z Zurich Foundation, the Australian Government Department of Social Services through Coordinaire South Eastern New South Wales Public Health Network, the Australian Government Department of Social Services under the Families and Communities Program through Bernardo's Australia, and also the Tony Foundation. A few people got a special preview of this, our very first episode, and one of them was Amanda, who we met playing Pokemon Go. This is what she wrote to us after listening to the episode. This is amazing. It made me laugh and cry and want to buy new phones for all. Chloe's poem was heartbreaking, but adorable at the same time. I've never felt so moved by a poem before. You are such great storytellers. You should all be very proud of what you've achieved so far. Thanks, Amanda. So, if like Amanda, you would like to leave us a message about our podcast, or make a comment, or tell us a story, you can send us a message via our social media pages or via the website, whatever's better for you. You have been listening to Shaping How I Feel Today, one of Beyond Empathy's podcasts from The Edge. Next time on Shift, we're going to talk marshmallows, late night, and 1,000 crappy old fridges. Catch you then.